If you're feeling like your body just isn't cooperating with you anymore as you step into your midlife years, there are some habits you can start now. It's never too late that will help you regain control. Our bodies start playing by a whole new set of rules as we pass 40, especially when it comes to managing weight. In this video, I'll share some practical strategies to become stronger and more resilient. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic stress so that you can cruise through menopause symptom-free, so that you can put an end to menopausal weight gain and the fat that comes along with it. So the first thing we need to understand is what really causes midlife weight gain. As we enter this new phase of our lives where fertility is no longer such a high priority, this is going to require our adrenals to kind of kick in and deal with this change. It's creating internal stress. Any change creates stress. We can recognize that just in anything we deal with in life. So the adrenal glands essentially are triggering a cortisol response, and that cortisol response should help us to manage this additional stress while our body's kind of readjusting. Think about it. Our body was designed perfectly, and it's no surprise that the female body's going to go through menopause. So we should be able to handle this naturally. When it's not working for us that way, it's because our adrenals are already fatigued to the point where they don't have any additional energy to donate to manage this process. One of the other things that tends to happen during this period is that our emotions end up being a little out of control as well. Again, if you think about a young person going through puberty, they have similar sort of emotional highs and lows. It just kind of comes with the territory related to the change. And so what tends to happen though is when we feel all these changes, if we're already one of those people who tends to kind of emotionally eat, then we may be overeating or indulging in things we know aren't really good for us. And that tends to make the problem even worse. So it's important to recognize that you're having these emotional swings and to not let that be a license to compound your problems by just eating indiscriminately. So that leads us to managing stress. And the first thing I will say is that having a positive mindset will go a long way. But this isn't about denying that what's happening is happening. This is about acceptance and having less resistance to it. Your body, again, is going to go through this change, whether you like it or not. And so if we just embrace it and relax into it, it will go a long way to reducing the amount of stress that our already overstressed adrenals are trying to manage. The other thing I will say is that food sensitivities are causing additional internal stress on your system. Any of those foods that are potentially already creating additional stress that you're consuming regularly, those foods tend to fall into what I call the fierce five, and that is dairy, wheat or gluten, sugar, yeast, and alcohol. And so you want to make sure that you are eliminating those to the extent possible to help reduce the amount of internal stress that your body is dealing with on top of all this additional stress that menopause is bringing to the party. You also may find yourself feeling really tired and drained and maybe turning to stimulants to help, keep your energy going throughout the afternoon, or even potentially to curb your appetite. This is really just making matters worse. It's causing additional stress, it's keeping your cortisol spiked, and it's going to long-term create insulin resistance and sabotage your efforts. So you definitely do not want to be turning to stimulants. That includes coffee beyond, if you're one of those people who just enjoys 1 cup of coffee in the morning, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're drinking coffee all day, if you're using energy drinks, if you're even turning to something like chocolate in the afternoon, I will admit to loving a little square of dark chocolate, but I specifically get the really dense dark chocolate with very little sugar in it. And it's satisfying. Just a tiny little square of that is satisfying and just meets that need, that craving, without doing a whole lot of additional damage. So calorie restriction may seem like the answer, but it's a race to the bottom, and it causes additional stress, and your body just adjusts to running on fumes long term. If you are accustomed to just dieting to keep your weight in check, that will eventually backfire on you. Dieting can work initially because your body does need a bit of an adjustment period to figure out how much fuel it has to work with, but long term, that's not going to work. In fact, I was just speaking with a woman, and she was telling me that she doesn't eat much at all. She's really been dealing with some sadness related to some personal experiences and just has lost her appetite. She just doesn't feel like eating. And she said she's gained 30 pounds since she really stopped eating. So that just tells you how much the stress and emotional impact factors into whether or not we can lose weight or even manage our weight, keep our weight in check. So this is just an example of one of the countless ways stress creates symptoms and other health issues, especially during menopause. I created a video that shows you how to eliminate menopause symptoms naturally, so I'll make sure to link to it below this video. But make sure you hit subscribe too, because I share a lot of tips when it comes to dealing with stress that's become toxic. Relieving the nasty symptoms stress creates makes navigating through menopause a breeze. So how do we monitor your weight and body fat in a way that's actually going to make sense? If I tell you that you really should not be restricting calories, what should you be watching? The thing I really focus on is body composition, in particular, body fat. And I tell the story that when I really started going through menopause, I felt like the Pillsbury dough girl. Like I hadn't gained much weight, but I just saw that kind of layer of fat and almost puffiness start to appear. And I still struggle with it too. It's just a side effect of aging that we have to constantly be aware of. But I really work to keep body fat percentage below 30%, trying to get closer to that 25% that you may have enjoyed when you were younger. Probably isn't realistic, and what you may need to do to keep your body fat percentage in that range might not be healthy at this age, but definitely if you can keep your body fat percentage below 30%, you will find that that's a good kind of overarching number that will manage a lot of the other issues as well. You also can turn to strength building, and I recommend that versus cardio. Cardio tends to give our system a little bit too much stress, and that can create further damage to our struggling adrenals. And so strength building will tend to get your heart rate up a bit and will also help keep your muscles strong. And one of the best ways we can age gracefully is by staying strong and fit. And that will allow us to maintain our mobility well into our 80s, 90s, and beyond. Lastly, the way I manage keeping my weight and fat percentage in check is by using fasting. And what I did find initially is that I had to lean into deeper fasting. Just the standard intermittent fasting really was not enough to handle this stressful period. So if you need some help kind of determining how to manage this period of your life and what types of fasting are going to be required to help you manage this process, then you should definitely check out my next video. If your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. In my next video, I'll show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack.